Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Let's get these all in frame. Um, Want to talk a little bit about the stuff that I'm most looking forward to for 2020, and I've got to say, guys, that there's not as much as previous years to be excited about, or at least for me. So last year, I remember how excited I was. There were a few knives that I was just so happy to see and just couldn't wait to get my hands on. Now, many of those you guys know about, and I've been very fortunate in order to be able to handle all of them, right? So all the knives that I was really stoked about, I got to take a look at, and those were, if you recall from last year, I really wanted to get my hands on the Spyderco Subvert, the Spyderco Amalgam. Been able to handle both of those. The Spyderco Drunken wasn't on the top of my list, but it was pretty high up there. The Spyderco Paisan was my biggest disappointment, I think, for 2019. We had the Cold Steel 8010 and 8015, both of which I was unbelievably excited for. We had the Benchmade Super Freak. Again, I just couldn't wait to get a hold of it. In addition to all of those, we had the Massdrop ProTech Mordax, which is a Ferrum Forge ProTech Mass Drop collaboration, now known as Drop. So all of those things, I just could not wait to check those out. I was so excited for everything that was coming up in 2019, and I've been very fortunate to be able to handle all of those. I know many of you watching probably don't get that opportunity. But for me, it was so much fun to be able to check out those knives. I didn't keep all of them, but I enjoyed every single one of them a great deal. So this year, as I look at what's coming, at least at this point, there's nothing that stands out to me in the same way. So all of those knives, I just could not wait to get a hold of, and they were just so enjoyable. This year, it's not quite the same, but there are some things that I'm anticipating. So I'm going to use the tablet for most of these just because, I initially thought, well, I'll pull in an example of each model. And anyway, that's going to be too long and take too long, too much editing and all of that. So let me get this stuff out of the way. And by the way, let me say, I am loving this Wii TO2. So if you're wondering, I really enjoy this. Wouldn't hurt you at all to go over to White Mountain Knives and pick one of these up with my discount code. I think they're like $70, so you'd save yourself $7 and get it closer to $60. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. Let's bring in the tablet here. And as you can see, the first thing we're looking at are some cold steels. And, that's because I felt like I'd put them first because I was so impressed with what Cold Steel did last year that, I will put them to the top of the list. So there are a couple of things here. You can see there's an 8015 that's all blacked out. By the way, I promised you guys a full video on this, and this is not going to be just about Cold Steels, but this is going to be my sort of response, if you will, to the new Cold Steels. And I thought I'd throw in a few other new models. But check this guy out. We have the Formax Scout, which is going to be, a budget-friendly Formax. I think that's a really cool option. I know there are lots of you out there watching who are like, hey, I'd love a Formax, but there's no way I'm spending $300. Well, here's one that's going to be under $100. This is just the MSRP. And hopefully you guys watching, sometimes I get comments, guys, where you're talking about MSRP. The MSRP is just a stupid, ridiculously high price that manufacturers throw out there so that retailers can put a big line through it and say, this is the MSRP, but this is what we're actually selling it for. So MSRP means nothing, and you're going to see a bunch of knives and you're going to see prices beside them. Just understand that that's like an outrageously high price for the knives we're taking a look at. Okay, so the Formax Scout is one I'm pretty interested in. The other one is the Airlight Drop. The Airlight, wow. I don't know why I said it that way. I guess reading and talking and thinking was just too much for me at this point. So the Airlight Drop Point, yes, this looks like a win again from Cold Steel. Again, a budget-friendly knife. It's good to see some nice budget-friendly options coming from them. There's also an SR1 light. There's no pictures available of it. And the other knife that I wanted to kind of feature here for a second, because I'm pretty curious about it, is this guy, the Click and Cut. Now, this is not a folding knife. This is a switchable blade knife. So I think maybe we should uh, invent the term switchblade instead of meaning a blade that switches out with a button. It means a blade you can switch. So this is kind of a cool idea. I don't know if I love this handle. I feel like, if you're going to make a knife that has multiple blades, I think that's a cool idea, very cool idea. But the handle has to be awesome, right? The handle has to be really, really good, and it has to be the thing that really sells it. And then now, I have the option of switching out from a bunch of different blades. It would be nice to see different blade steels as well. And I think as I was reading here, they're all the same steel. Um, one of the benefits, I guess, of being able to switch blades is being able to switch to a steel that is better suited to the job you're doing. So that would be kind of nice to see. I have to say this, guys, while we're talking about this. So I was flicking through all of the new cold steels, and I'm just scrolling through like what we're doing right now. And my son Joel came by and he's like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just looking through all the new stuff from Cold Steel." And he's like, "Oh, let me look, let me." So he comes over, he takes a look, and without a moment's hesitation, he's just like, "Dad, who cares about the knives? Why don't you just review swords?" So he saw this sword as well as a few others that are coming from Cold Steel this year, and he was like, "What? Why do we have a knife channel at all? Just forget that. Just go switch to swords. They're so much cooler." And maybe they are, but I think between Scalagram and Shadiversity and a few others, I don't know, they're like super into it, and I'm just not that into swords. So we're gonna stick with folding knives, but I just thought I'd share with you that Joel's opinion is that the channel we should just quit talking about folding knives altogether and move over to swords. I will say one of the cool things about the Cold Steel swords is they're pretty well made, and yet they're not crazy expensive. If you've looked at all at swords, and I have, I'll admit, there's that fantasy nerd lurking inside of me somewhere. I have looked at swords a little bit and thought, it'd be neat to kind of have one just to wave around in the backyard and chop trees and stuff. But they're always really expensive. But cold steels are not all that bad. Let's switch over to CRKT. Again, CRKT is a company that I don't know. It's hard to um, really get excited about what CRKT is doing a lot of the times. Now, they do have a provoke for first responders, and I'm not sure what that's all about. I still don't love the blade here. The challenge for first responders is that, there's always the risk. You're working in a high adrenaline environment, and having a blade, even 2.5 inches of it exposed, is a little sketchy. Um, I don't know what feature they have added to this that makes it special for first responders. Let's see if we can do a quick read through and see if there's a reason they call this. I guess they've got a glass breaker on it. Oh yeah. So multiple carry options plus a glass breaker were specifically designed where men and women in uniform. So that's what they're talking about there. They've added a glass breaker and get different opening mechanism. But let me quickly scroll through here because there are some knives that I'm rather interested in. The M40 here from Kit Carson, I'm definitely interested in. Now, by the way, 8CR13 MOV steel, yeah, not super stoked about that. Some of them are 41116 steel, which is that German steel that actually performs pretty well. It's on a couple of cold steels as well, and we've talked about that. This one might be one of those. The other one that I'm interested in is the linchpin. I may actually go ahead and pick one of these up for a very particular reason, okay? The reason I'd like to try one of these is it's got the new lock. And it's not as expensive as the original knife that came out with, I can't remember what they call this lock, but I am curious to try it. And so I think this is a good, this is a knife I actually like the look of a little bit more. Let's see if we can see. Yeah, the 1.4116 is the steel I was trying to say. I had ones and sixes and fours all over the place when I told you a second ago. You can see this is a pretty big knife. And so kind of right up my alley. And I do actually really like the design here. So this is definitely one I'm curious about and want to check out. And I think I've got one other knife. Let's see here. We'll just back up to the previous page. Oh yeah, two more actually. The Brian TIE Fighter here. So this is based on the TIE Fighter. And I love the TIE Fighter design. I've had one. It's a really nice knife. There are a couple little hiccups in terms of overall quality control, but really, really nicely done. from a design standpoint, I'm a huge fan of Brian's work, and so I will be picking one of these guys up for certain. I guess I didn't mean to click on it, but we're going to do that anyway. So you can see there, fairly large button lock, and hopefully my challenge here, or my fear, is a lot of times budget friendly button locks are a fail because you can't be as precise and careful as you need to be, and they end up having blade play. Hopefully that won't be the case. Here though, if you're a big fan of the Millet Torrent, which is a TJ Schwartz design, this is going to be the CRKT version of this knife, and I probably will pick one of these up just because the design is so iconic, and because I really like TJ Schwartz, and the whole Millet stuff overall. The price point on a Millet Torrent is way out of league for, it's a small knife, so it's not one that I'm terribly interested in. But if I can pick this up for like 30-40 bucks, then yeah, we'll be taking a look at it on the channel. Those are the things that stand out from CRKT. I know a lot of you will push back. A lot of these do have 8CR13 MOV steel. They're not super exciting, but they're kind of cool designs. And if CRKT, if everything comes together well, they can put out a decent knife. They just sometimes miss the boat. So hopefully that won't happen in our case. Let me flip over to the SOGs that I mentioned yesterday. So SOG updates some popular folders. This is a story in Knife News. If you don't follow Knife News, you definitely ought to do so. Follow them on Instagram, follow them on Facebook. They do put out some interesting stories. I check pretty frequently. Now, this is the new version of the SOG Aegis. And if this has the XR lock, which I believe it does, this can be a big win. And so hopefully, fingers and toes crossed. I do like the Aegis. I like the blade shape. I like the overall design of the knife. And so if this is well done so that it's comfortable in hand, and so that the lock is highly functional, this could be a really nice knife from SOG. It does have assist, which I know a lot of you don't like. I don't dislike assisted knives. I don't know. Yeah, it's not quite as satisfying as a really smooth action, but especially on a budget knife, I'm not looking for a smooth action anyway. And so, yeah, if this is priced right and it's built right, this could be a huge win for SOG and something that I really enjoy. The other knife I want to look at is this guy right here. This is the new version of the Flash. This is the Flash AT. Again, from what I can tell, this is going to have the XR lock, and could once again be a really cool knife from SOG. Both of these are going to be in D2 with what I think is G10, if I remember correctly. Oh no, GRN scales. So we're still going with plastic. I wish they'd switch to G10, but I guess not. Anyway, I'm hoping, guys, I'm really hoping that both of these knives, the Flash and the Aegis, come out really awesome. Because I love the designs, and I don't have a dislike of any specific knife company, really. I want all knife companies to be putting out great stuff. I know some of you guys give me a hard time for picking on Buck especially, and it's not that Buck just doesn't do anything right ever. They've got some great knives out there, but their overall lineup, just nothing appeals to me, and I just find that they depend heavily on their name to sell their knives rather than, I feel like every knife company should just pretend that they've never existed before and they're trying to prove themselves to the marketplace every year. And if you took that approach, the whole industry would be better in general. And I feel like SOG and Buck and even Spyderco to some extent just don't do that. I mean, a lot of the companies, they depend on the fact that they have a good reputation to sell their knives. And I feel like they should every year come at it as if no one's ever heard of them, and we've got to prove ourselves that we can really do something awesome. Anyway, that's my little rant. Let's switch over to Spyderco. Oh no, that's not what I want. There we go. Let's try this again. That's what I want right there. So the Spyderco Siren. See if I can get it to zoom in. Maybe not. There we go. We'll move it around a little bit. Sorry guys, but with the tablet in this configuration, that's the best I can do for you. The Siren is a knife that this is the most exciting thing for me probably on this list. It's LC200N, which is a knife I've wanted to try for a long time. It's just a very simple lockback, everyday carry style knife. And It looks to be something very simple, very effective as a cutting tool with a steel that I really want to try in a configuration that looks highly functional. And to me, that's got a lot of opportunity to be a win. All right. Other companies that I want to mention, I don't have images from some of these other companies, so I guess we'll just switch to a couple of knives back here. Let's get this guy out of the way. Throw in that Wee pen, which I will say, by the way, guys, I think I mentioned this already, but I'm liking this pen a lot. This is the PMP user. Again, I'm enjoying this knife a lot, and the Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter. So let's get into a couple other comments that I want to make before we're all done. Collaborations that I'm looking forward to. Well, the one big collaboration that I think all of us have in mind is the Wee Wari. So that's the Gareth Bolsham Wari done in a production version by Wee Knives. That's something I definitely plan to pick up. Hopefully the price point is good. It's a smaller knife than I normally want to see, but I think it's so significant, and the Shamwari is such a good knife that and we can do such a good job with production that it's worth getting. Zero tolerance. I hope they come out with some great stuff this year. I feel like I've been just a little disappointed with ZT the last couple of years. I will say this: the 470 and the 640 are great models. I think those are huge wins. I've liked a lot of ZTs, and they do a good job for the price point. There's no question about it. I have to say, in recent times, if someone came to me and said, "What is the one ZT that you would buy?" The 0562 Ti, I think, is about the best thing in their lineup right now. Very cool, and you can find them for some really, really good prices these days. I hope Lion Steel does some good stuff. Lion Steel has been putting out some nicer stuff, some thinner grinds that have been pretty impressive lately. And the other thing that I want to mention are, the Civivi knives. In terms of budget knives, Civivi has been the ones that I'm most interested in. They just, I mean, everything seems to be the most right. It's not that they're perfect. They have lots of models that I dislike, but boy, I've been really impressed with Civivi recently, and I hope that trend continues. I would like to see them do a few less models. Same with Wii. They can do such a good job if they would just be a little bit patient and say, okay, let's do one really, really good thing. And I guess a lot of the Chinese makers could learn that lesson. And the same is true of like Kershaw and CRKT. Let's just take our time and put out a couple really great knives instead of put out 30 and kind of see which ones are decent. So there you go, guys. Overall, that's the stuff that I'm most looking forward to. Oh, wait, I didn't mention this. Mass drop collaborations. I hope that we get something great. Last year, as I said, I was so excited about the ProTech Mordax. Previously, we've had the Keen and the Crux, which I always mention when I bring up Max Drop, and I think those are still the best knives that they've done. The Keen and Crux are perfect. They're amazing. I hope we get something equivalent this year. It's always nice to be able to look forward to something really, really cool. There you go, guys. That's what I'm thinking. Use my discount code over at White Mountain Knives. Check the Facebook page. I share other discount codes there as well. The Facebook page, by the way, is Sharp Stuff. I'll try to put a link in this video. If I forget, please let me know in comments. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support. Let me know what you're looking forward to this year. If there's some huge glaring thing that I've missed. Oh yeah, you know what? I did miss one thing. The Spyderco Tenacious is going to come out in a lightweight model. So that's pretty intriguing. I'll be curious to see how that goes. I'll say it one more time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will talk to you soon.